Good morning, early birds. I have got to check something out. Besides this wild hair that I forgot to put my little barrette in. I got to go run and check something out. So just give me 1 second. I poured my juice in a glass. And I have to make sure it wasn't a glass that I had out there for my gargling. You know, one of the cool things about doing the podcast the way that I do the podcast, and that is that it does act as a mirror, is what it does. And so you really can, like other people do their podcasts, and, you know, you can't see them, or you can see them rather, you know, talking in their microphone, so they can't do things like I do. But this is a mirror. Keep my glasses up. That's at least a little better. See, and I can use it as a mirror too. So that makes it nice, and I can always improve the look a little bit. Yeah, I can. Oh, which, see, I've got the wrong glasses on. For this whole entire outfit, it's the wrong glasses. It is day 260 here in the classroom. I'm the teacher, and I act just like a teacher. Up and down, back and forth. Who can even keep their eyeballs straight? I always did that in the classroom too. It keeps those students alive. Because let me tell you, some of them, in the classes I took, it was a gift from God. If they, were able to transform into a corpse just at the moment. See, where'd that just strange light come from? From above, Annette, hello? Strange things going on. How's that working out for you, trying to frame me? Huh? How's that working out for you? L&M, Classroom Day 260. Here's the thing about all of that, and that is that I think it's the damage that war does to people, honestly. I think that it is, clearly, it's the damage that war does to people that gets them off track. And here in the classroom, I'm really working hard to get you on track. And it's not just really getting you on track, but if there are reasons why you really, really to your core dislike me, well, then you've got something wrong with your core. We need to work on your core. And that's really, really what we are doing here. We really are improving your core beliefs, your core insides, and, your core inspiration. That's really what I do here in this classroom. And if that is something that you despise, because maybe you despise the way I do it, that still shouldn't be anything any person on this planet should despise. Not any person on this planet. And what I've heard is that the person who's doing this to me didn't have the courage to do it, but rather instead manipulated and forced through oppression and threats other people to do it. And that, in my book, is just an unbearable burden on your soul, Michael. Or, whoever. All I'm saying is that there was an illegal petition. And the illegal petition was an illegal, not spoken out. And there sounds like there was an awful lot of twisted thinking going on. So that's what I'm here to help with. I see it around me. That's all I'm saying, early birds, is that you're not the only person who's got some stuff to deal with. And hopefully in this podcast, I'm helping all of you deal with it in a way that you can see an example similar to Jesus Christ. Similar. I'm finding out I might be a Hindu. Sort out your spelling. Because there's a lot of people who really dislike Christians, and I'm one of them. For the majority of Christians, I don't like. And it's getting harder and harder to find Christians that I do like. So you certainly do not have to be a Christian, not one single bit, to listen to me or buy into what I'm saying, or try and join hands. So we can really all get along. Sort out your spelling. So here we are in our book, 30 Days Has September, Cool Ways to Remember Stuff. We're probably going to go into this onto Tuesday too. I might postpone Almighty Tuesday because we always talk about God, number one. And number two, we're getting into science, and I really want to kind of get rolling on science. But, and if I were to, absolve Almighty Tuesday of its duty for Tuesday, I would do it to finish this book. So sort out your spelling. There are lots of words that can be hard to get right. Oh, we already did this one, so it's the next day. It's the next page. So we are still doing, remember, accommodate, address, argument, beard, beautiful. Big ears aren't ugly, they're beautiful. So B-E-A-U. Big ears aren't ugly, they're beautiful. Because big elephants can't always understand small elephants. Because big elephants can't always understand small elephants. And there's the picture, and the picture, as they said, will help you remember too. There's a big elephant, geez, and there's I don't understand. Big elephants can't always understand small elephants. Bicycle. You won't forget how to spell this word if you remember. It's best not to use your bicycle when it's icy on the road. Bicycle has icy in the word. It's best not to use your bicycle when it's icy on the road. Breakfast. When you get up and eat your breakfast, you break your fast. A fast is when you go without food or drink for a time. So breakfast is break fast, right? Break fast. And breakfast has the word, never mind. Definite. To remember this tricky one, tell yourself that there is definitely no A in definite. Definite. Sometimes that's the way I remember it. I pronounce the word phonetically, kind of. Difficulty, Mrs. D, Mrs. I, Mrs. What is with the Mrs.? I think we should just memorize the word sometimes. I'm just totally not getting that. Embarrass. It's kind of embarrassing. It's only natural to go really red and smile shyly when you are embarrassed. So really red, 2 R's in embarrassed. Smile shyly, 2 S's in embarrass. There's a word in there I remember. Geography. George Edwards' old grandmother rode a pig home yesterday. See, to me, phonetically, you should be able to sound it out. Geography, other than the PHY. And that's something that you're kind of memorize. A pig home yesterday. Well, that helps, I suppose. Who? George's who? George Edwards' old grandmother. Grammar. A grandma used perfect grammar. So grammar, so showing you the 2 A's, but why? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You have to know how to spell grammar. To get the 2 A's. No comprendo. I before E except after C or when sounded like A as in neighbor and way. That one I remember. So it's I-E in believe, but E-I in receive. Like many spelling rules, there are some exceptions. The I before E rule does not apply to words such as ancient, when the C sounds more like an SH. Or a CH. Other common exceptions include their, vain, and weird, which, as you can see, don't have the letter C in them at all, but still use E before I, or EI. Library. Sound it out for Pete's sake. Living in books really aids reading years. Okay, good. Lovely. Remind yourself that everyone loves a lovely present. I didn't say this book was great. What we're doing here is reading comprehension and helping us remember things. These first rules I don't think are great. Minute. Many insects never use the escalator. Mississippi. Say to yourself, MISSISSIPPI. Or Mrs. M, Mrs. What is this Mrs.? MISSISSIPPI. How about that? That's what I did. MISSISSIPPI. Or MISSISSIPPI. That one's not bad. It doesn't help you write it though. I don't think. The double S is confusing a little bit. Necessary. When it's necessary to wear a shirt, a nice shirt, remember that it has one collar and two sleeves. So one C and two S's. One collar. See how they bold it? They bold the C. One collar and two sleeves. Necessary. Original. I do forget accommodate. That's the one I forget about, and I always remember the two C's now, but I don't always remember the two M's. I used to always remember the two M's and not the two C's. I've got to get it together. That's what the show is all about. Never mind. I was going to tell you never mind. Because then I tell you. Original. Can you spot origin in original? Okay. Parallel. Parallel lines run along each other an equal distance apart, like train tracks. Imagine the two L's in the middle of the word parallel running off into the distance. Now that one actually I did remember. I remembered actually the definition a little bit more because of the two L's, right? So compared to perpendicular, I always remembered what was parallel. Like railroad tracks running off into the distance, those are the two L's. That's a good one. People. Always the ones I remember are good ones. I don't know how that works. People eat omelets. People like eggs. Okay. Possible. I think anything is possible. That's to help you remember the I. I is impossible. I think anything is possible. Rhythm. Rhythm helps your two hips move. Separate. Just remember that the two A's in this word are separated by the letter R, or that several elephants paraded trumpeting eagerly. Just remember there's two A's in separate that are separated by an R. Sincerely. Since I rely on honesty, I must say things sincerely. I rely, so rely is on in the word sincerely, rely. Special. The word special can be confusing as it uses the letter C, I, and A to make the SH sound. Try this. The CIA agent is a special agent. And there's the picture to help you remember. So special. The CIA agent is a special agent. Succeed. There are only 3 words in the whole English language that end in CEED. Succeed, proceed, and exceed. Wow, that's interesting. If you use 2 C's and 2 E's, you will succeed. Why would I use 2 C's and 2 E's? Because you have the word in the sentence, succeed. Okay. Surprise, suddenly, unexpectedly, roars, pings, and rumbles induce shock in everybody. You know what I think is worthwhile for that one? There it is, right there, surprise. I think it's worthwhile to remember that those things are called acronyms. I was thinking anagram. Wednesday, we do not eat sandwiches on Wednesdays. We do not eat sandwiches on you know how I remember Wednesday? Exactly just how I said it, Wednesday. I say it all the time in my head. Every time I read Wednesday, I read Wednesday in my head. Don't say it out loud like that. Your teacher will think that you're a little slow. Don't hesitate to punctuate. Without punctuation, it would be difficult to know how to read this sentence, wouldn't it? Without commas and periods telling you when to pause and take a breath, you would keep on reading and reading and reading and reading until you ran out of gasp breath. So when you are looking for the end of a sentence, be sure to look for question marks, exclamation points, and periods. So that's clear, okay? Excellent. All right. Rules of punctuation. Here is an updated version of a poem called The Rules of Punctuation, which Cecil Hartley wrote in 1818. It explains the old school rules for reading aloud. The stops point out the length of pause a reader needs between each clause. For every comma, a count of 1, then count for 2 at a semicolon. Each colon prefers a count of 3, a period 4. We all agree. The stops point out the length of pause a reader needs between each clause. And there's a colon. For every comma, a count of 1, semicolon. Then count for 2 at a semicolon. Each colon prefers a count of 3, a period 4, we all agree. Read on to find out how to use all the punctuation marks mentioned in the poem and more. Periods. A period ends a sentence. It brings it to a stop. If you spot a dot in the middle of a sentence, it is there to remind you that something is missing. So when a series of words, such as the United States of America, is reduced to its initials like this, U period, S period, A period, the dots are added after each letter to remind you of the missing letters. Other dots are used to remind you that a word has been shortened. For example, prof, period, is short for professor, and etc, period, is short for etc. Exclamation points. A sentence doesn't always have to end in a period. To make your writing more exciting, you can finish with a flourish and add an exclamation point. It shows that something dramatic has happened. It's an exclamation. So there's the picture right there. When the dog bit his finger, Max exclaimed, "Ouch!" If you think the words you have used sound like an exclamation, it's probably okay to use an exclamation point. Tip: never use more than 1 exclamation point. That's bad punctuation. Oh, and then what do? A whole bunch of exclamation points. That seems like it is kind of hypocritical advice. Question marks. A question must always end in a question mark. For example, who threw that stone? Asked Sally. Don't use a question mark when a sentence talks about a question but doesn't ask it straight out, like this. Sally wanted to know which boy had broken her window. Just remember, have you asked a question? Do you need a question mark, right? So Sally wanted to know which boy had broken her window. So Sally wanted to know which boy had broken her window. I'm thinking about that too, Sally. I don't think that's very nice. I'm just thinking about, I know I'm thinking, where's my makeup, for Pete's sake? It's nice to not have to wash makeup off your face. Commas. Commas are very useful little things. They can get used to separate items. They can be used to separate items on a list like this. We got up, had breakfast, walked to the beach, swam, ate our picnic, built sandcastles, and came home late. So when there's a list. If a sentence is made up of different parts that could easily be used as separate sentences, each part is a clause. For example, this sentence shows two clauses separated by a comma. It was sunny, so we went to the beach. A clause is a part of a sentence. It's not a whole sentence. It separates that part from the sentence. It was sunny, so we went to the beach, right? It can be split into two separate sentences. It was sunny, period. We went to the beach, period. In the first example, instead of splitting the sentence up, a comma has been used with a joining word called a conjunction. We've talked about conjunctions in the classroom. In this case, the word so in the middle. See page 32 for more on conjunctions. The comma separates the second clause. The fact that you went to the beach from the first clause, the fact that it was sunny. So that's what the comma separates. The fact that you went to the beach from the first clause, the fact that it was sunny. Use this mnemonic to keep the rule in mind. What's the difference between a cat and a comma? A cat has claws at the end of its paws. A comma's pause at the end of a clause. Got it? What's the difference between a cat and a comma? A cat has claws at the end of its paws. A comma's a pause at the end of a clause. There's a picture to help you remember that one. Semicolons. A semicolon looks like a period on top of a comma. One of the uses of a semicolon is as a way to link different clauses instead of using and over and over and over again. For example, we got up and had breakfast before going to the beach. By lunch, we'd all gone swimming and were ready for a picnic. Remember this, a semicolon's handy, and when and has been banned. A semicolon's handy when and has been banned. You can read along if you read. Colons. A colon looks like one period on top of another. It's useful when you want to show that an explanation or a list is coming. For example, if you want to explain what food you had for your picnic or why you had a picnic, you might write, we packed a picnic, sandwiches, lemonade, hard-boiled eggs, tomatoes, cookies, and apple pie. Or, there were 2 reasons Mom insisted on packing a picnic, colon. There is nowhere to buy food at the beach, comma, and we all would get very hungry. Think of a colon as an explanation mark. What's coming next is an explanation. We packed a picnic, colon, sandwiches, comma, lemonade, comma, hard-boiled eggs, comma, tomatoes, comma, cookies, comma, and apple pie. Or, there were 2 reasons Mom insisted on packing a picnic. Here comes the reasons. Here comes what we packed. Here comes the list. Hyphens. Hyphens and dashes. Hyphens are small dashes, right? Hyphens and dashes. This is good. Hyphens may look quite Hyphens and dashes may look quite similar, but they do different jobs. Hyphens are used to join 2 words together, and dashes are used to break words up. Just remember, hyphens hang words together, dashes divide them. Hyphens hang, dashes divide, okay? You can use a hyphen to link 2 words and create new meanings, such as double cross and willy-nilly. Use a dash to divide words and to add a stronger pause within a sentence. He was late. I was very angry. So that's a stronger pause, right? Hyphens hang, dashes divide. So that you can see very clearly that dash in the middle of a whole word. That's or a whole paragraph. That's the reason why it adds more emphasis, right? Use a dash to divide words and to add a stronger pause within a sentence. He was late. I was angry. Or to interrupt a sentence with some extra information. He was late. His bus was delayed. And I was angry. I use dashes, not overuse them. Of course I wouldn't overuse them. I use them just perfectly fine. Exactly the amount that they should be used. But I do use them. Apostrophes, possession. Use an apostrophe, pronounced apostrophe. Apostrophe. That's when I was saying I sometimes pronounce things phonetically. That's phonetically. I could read how it's pronounced. Those aren't words, right? A is a word, but pas is not. Tro is not. Fee is a word though, right? You know what I'm saying? To show possession, that something belongs, add it to the end of a word and follow it with the letter S. So, use an apostrophe to show possession, that something belongs to somebody. Add it to the end of the name or whatever is possessing, and then follow that by an S to show possession. For example, Charlie's dog is chewing Becky's hat. Whose dog is it? Charlie's. So that something belongs. The dog belongs to Charlie. The hat belongs to Becky. That's when we use an apostrophe. In this sentence, the apostrophe before the S is a signal. It shows you that the word Becky is possessive. She owns something, a chewed hat. However, if Charlie's dog decided to chew several hats belonging to lots of girls, not only would Charlie and his dog be in even more trouble, but the apostrophe would have to move to the other side of the S as well. That was confusing. Charlie's dog I was looking for more Charlies. Charlie's dog chewed the girls. Many girls. See, that girl is plural. Becky and Charlie are one person. Charlie's one person. They're not both one person. Charlie's one person. Becky's one person, right? Girls, there's more than one girl, which is what they said in that paragraph. My nail broke. Here's a handy way to remember how to use an apostrophe to show possession. Add the apostrophe and then an S to show that something is possessed. If the thing has an S at the end, first comes S, then our apostrophe friend. If the thing, like shoes, first comes the S, then our apostrophe friend. Omission. When talking, people often say you've instead of you have, or will instead of we will, as it saves time. You should use an apostrophe to show that one or more letters have been deliberately omitted or left out. For example, Becky might say, look at my hat. It's ruined. We've talked about this before too, right? We call those, all of a sudden I can't remember, a contraction, right? Yeah. When you put, I was looking to see if they said it. They don't even give it. Those are contractions. We will, wool, right? Or she shall, shill. That is, that's. We've talked about those before in this class. Here are some examples of words where letters have been left out. Do not becomes don't. I am becomes I'm. Are not becomes aren't. To remember the two ways in which you can use an apostrophe, keep this mnemonic. Why do I keep saying that wrong? Mnemonic in mind. Apostrophes show possession and omission. Okay. I'm wondering why they have the highlights there. PPO. Apostrophe show possession and omission. Understanding grammar. Learning English grammar is a bit like shaking hands with an octopus. At first glance, it seems impossibly complicated, slippery, and hard to grasp. But just as an octopus never gets tied up in knots, you won't either once you know the basic rules of grammar. This poem by an anonymous author is a good place to start. Every name is called a noun, as field and fountain, street and town. In place of a noun, the pronoun stands as he and she can clap their hands. We've done all of these in our grammar segments in our 260 days we've been here so far. But what a great poem to remember these. I just love this. Let me read it and then I'll show it to you. Every name is called a noun, as field and fountain, street and town. In place of noun, the pronoun stands as he and she can clap their hands. The adjective describes a thing, as magic wand and bridal ring. The verb means action, something done, to read, to write, to jump, to run. How things are done, the adverbs tell, as quickly, slowly, badly, well. The preposition shows relation, as in the street or at the station. Conjunction joins in so many ways sentences, words, or phrase and phrase. An interjection cries out, hey! Send exclamation points my way. Through poetry, we learn how each speech of these makes up the parts of speech. Through poetry, we learn how each of these makes up the parts of speech. Read on to find out more about the rules of grammar mentioned in the poem and great ways to remember them. Parts of speech. An octopus has 8 tentacles, and so does good grammar. Grammar's tentacles are called the parts of speech. They appear on each of the octopus's legs below. Now, I never thought about that. I was looking up the parts of speech for you guys, and we probably did go through 8 of them. We went through all of these. So there are on the octopus there, right there, interjection, prepositions, pronouns, conjunction, adjectives, nouns, verbs, and adverbs. So 8 of them. I said I was going to show you the poem. There is, without my finger in the way, there's the beautiful poem. I don't know if it's beautiful. I like it a lot though. And let me see here. And so therefore they would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stanzas. That would be easy to remember, right? That would be easy to remember, I bet. I might. We've got 4 days off. Every word in the English language is attached to one of these 8 parts of speech. You don't have to learn every word, though. Even Shakespeare only managed to use a small percentage of them. A noun is the name of an object, a person, an animal, a thing, an idea, or a place. There is a name for everything, and that name is a noun. That's good to know, right? There's a name for everything, and that name is a noun. Every name is called a noun, as field and fountain, street and town. Question: how many nouns can you find in the following sentence? Charlie the black dog chases Tibbles the orange cat up the old tree, looking up from the path, wagging his tail happily and barking woof, woof. I'm not going to tell you. We'll come back maybe if I remember, but you try and figure that out. 2 are proper nouns. So there are 2 proper nouns in there. Charlie and Tibbles. The names of things like people, towns, and countries are all proper nouns and always start with a capital letter. The other 5 nouns are common nouns and don't start with capital letters. Remember, a noun is a name. Adjectives. All these words are adjectives that could probably be used to describe you. So this is an acronym. This is an acronym. So for adjective, angelic, daring, jolly, excellent, clever, truthful, inventive, virtuous, eccentric. Adjectives usually go immediately in front of the noun. Except in other languages, actually. Adjectives usually go immediately in front of the noun they are describing. In the cat and dog sentence on the previous page, the dog is black and the cat is orange and the tree is old. Black, orange, and old are all adjectives. So remember, an adjective is a word used to describe a noun. It tells you more about it. It adds information to the noun. Verbs. No sentence is complete without a verb. A verb can be an action word used to describe what someone or something is doing. For example, Ben runs, jumps, and falls. Runs, jumps, and falls are all adjectives. Are all verbs. A verb can also be a being word used to describe what someone or something is. For example, Ben's leg is broken. These are all verbs. Vanish, escape, run, bolt. Bolt actually can be a verb. It might have been better to use a verb that was something like Interesting. That's not that easy. Butter up was what I was first thinking of, but that's not that great. When a verb needs to be more descriptive, an auxiliary verb is helpful. These verbs, such as to be, to do, or to have, give extra support to the main verb. So auxiliary verbs are helping verbs. Ben will be running today. Ben does not enjoy falling. Ben has been jumping. So will be, does, and has been are all helping verbs. So remember, an auxiliary verb gives extra help to the main verb. Let me read. I'm going to just quickly read to the end of this chapter. Adverbs. An adverb is used to describe a verb. So adjectives describe nouns. Adverbs describe verbs. It adds information to the verb. Adverbs are easy to spot because they usually end in the letters L-Y. Here are a few adverbs to help you remember. And here is the acronym adverb: athletically, daintily, valiantly, effortlessly, richly, beautifully. An adverb adds information to a verb. Conjunctions. A conjunction such as and, or but is used to link words, clauses, and sentences. It is where they meet, like the junction of two roads. Use this mnemonic to remember the conjunctions: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Fanboys. Fanboys. What? Isn't that a gambling or some kind of put a bunch of money in here and then what? I don't know. A pronoun such as he, she, you, or it takes the place of a noun that has already been mentioned. The English language would be cluttered and ugly without them. Imagine talking like this. John said that John's mother was taking John in John's mother's car to visit John's mother's friend and see John's mother's friend's goldfish. Doesn't sound like John's mother has a life. Call in the pronouns and try again. John said that his mother was taking him in her car to visit her friends and see their goldfish. A pronoun is a stand-in, a stuntman, a professional noun. It props up a noun when it needs a rest. The words what, why, when, how, where, and who, which appear in this clause, Rudyard Kipling verse, are all adverbs. Two of them, what and who, can be used as pronouns as well as for asking questions. Remember, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who. So where, there, who, him, her, what, ball, or it. All right, last page. Whew. Prepositions. A preposition tells you where to find a noun. To, in, for, by, into, of, off, and at are all prepositions, for example. They tell you where to find a noun. The cat sat on the grass, in the garden, by the pond. Remember, a preposition reveals the position of a noun. And then interjections. An interjection is a word thrown into a sentence. It doesn't have to link with the other words. For example, whoops, arg, ouch, oh no, laugh out loud, right? Some interjections are the rudest words in the language. We won't go into those or there'll be objections. That's kind of silly. Enter those or there'll be objections. I don't know. All right, so on Tuesday, we probably will not have our Almighty Tuesday, but we will come back to this book and hopefully finish it up. Same sound, different meaning. It's going to be hard to finish it up since we do our what'd you do on your 4 days off. What are you going to do on your 4 days off? We shall see, but we are going to be getting into science. This really kind of rolls into science a little bit. You know, grammar, science, you know. Day 260, it is October 16th. Happy birthday, Randy Feravich. Thanks so much for joining me here in the classroom where we keep your mind, your body, and your spirit healthy. Thanks.